It took me 81 minutes to automate $342,320 a month in LinkedIn ad spend. I know because I timed it. And that was for a complicated account advertising across 9 verticals. For most normal brands, you can probably get this done in less than 30 minutes. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how I did this and the exact workflows that I created using a tool called Sammy. If you're new to the channel, I'm Sammy Perez. I'm the founder of AdConversion. We teach 8,000 plus B2B marketers how to master ads and manage $3 million a month in ad spend for top B2B SaaS brands. LinkedIn is one of our most popular channels, and we actually created Sammy because we were running a bunch of LinkedIn ad campaigns in our agency and we needed a more scalable solution. Let's first start off by talking about what is Sammy so that you can get familiar with the platform, and then I'll walk you through some examples of how we actually created these workflows so you can put this all into practice. Let's kick off by talking about what is Sammy in the first place. So Sammy is an ad automation platform that lets you optimize your ads 24/7 across LinkedIn, Google, Meta, and YouTube. With Sammy, you can do things like set up a workflow that will automatically pause ads that have never generated any conversions or sales and send you an alert in Slack notifying you once the ad has been paused. You can also do things like set up a workflow to notify you if ad fatigue has set in. You can also set up a workflow to ad schedule and only serve your ads during certain business days or times of the day. You can do anything around optimizing performance, managing budgets, and monitoring KPIs. It's a really flexible tool, and you can get started with it for a 14-day free trial if you want to put this into practice. Now, before we actually jump into Sammy, I think it's really important that you have just a quick primer on ad automation as a whole, because if you're new to this, it'll be really helpful for you to conceptualize what does the ad automation actually look like in practice, because if you have this fundamental perspective, when you go into the actual platform, I think it'll make putting things into play much easier for you versus just kind of getting lost with all of the shiny objects. So this here in front of you is what I call the optimization lifecycle. And if you've been following along this channel, you know we like to pull it out the whiteboard. I came prepared this time and I mapped everything out here for you guys ahead of time. And I want to walk you through the optimization lifecycle, and then I'm going to show you how this actually manifests into workflows that we have built in Sammy. So first things first, let's just pretend that you launched 6 new campaigns. Whenever you launch a new campaign, it enters what I call the launch phase. And let's pretend that we launched 6 campaigns focusing on driving conversions. And our goal is we want to drive a conversion for less than $500. So the way that we've set up this workflow is if the cost is greater than 500 and conversions are less than 1, we're going to go ahead and shut off those ads. And in the launch phase, our primary goal is to wait for enough sample size. We need to make sure that our ads spend enough so that we have the opportunity to actually turn them off. Now, I'm going to be using a lead generation and a conversion example throughout this optimization lifecycle, but the same is true if you're focusing on awareness. So for example, if I was creating an awareness workflow for optimizing my awareness campaigns on LinkedIn, it could be if my engagement rate is less than my average engagement rate and impressions are greater than 1,000. Greater than 1,000 impressions is the sample size that I need in order to successfully get out of the launch phase. So using this example, let's pretend we launched those 6 campaigns. And of those 6 campaigns, 3 survived and then 3 got paused due to poor performance. So imagine that one of the campaigns had a CPA of $370, another one had a CPA of $400, and then the last one had a CPA of $485. So what happens is once we get out of the launch phase, now we enter what I call the maintenance phase. And in the maintenance phase, what we're really doing is we're trying to just assess performance. We need our campaigns to accrue more data, get some more learnings underneath them before we enter the next phase, which is the scale phase. And on the scale phase, this is all about reallocation. So for example, we can now make a decision. Are we going to increase our budgets or bids for the things that are performing well, or are we going to decrease our budget or bids for the things that are performing worse? So for instance, those 3 campaigns, let's imagine the 2 performed well. So we're going to go ahead and scale those because they has a CPA of 370 and 400, while one really struggled to, hit the ground running. So we're going to just monitor it, and it had a CPA of $485. So now we enter yet again another maintenance phase. And this evolution between scale and maintenance, it just kind of happens forever until eventually all of your campaigns die. So now when we enter this new maintenance phase, we then yet enter another scale phase. And from here, imagine these two campaigns. One of them could not sustain a CPA at a higher level of daily ad spend. That's very common if you've ever scaled your campaigns, especially if you're running ads on Meta and you notice that they just start to break after a certain amount of ad spend. That happens. Some ads are not good enough to sustain that level of ad spend. So in this case, that one campaign, the CPA creeped up to $515. So we're going to go ahead and pause that. The other one that's doing really well, we're going to scale that further because it's still at $400, which is less than $500, which is acceptable for me. So basically now this $400 campaign would then enter yet again another maintenance phase and then another scale phase until eventually, all campaigns stop performing, because eventually all campaigns do stop performing. And for this one campaign over here, it just continued to underperform. So we just killed it. So from here, it really just happens again and again. And the craziest thing about this too is like, eventually you have to basically decide, am I going to launch new campaigns and then push them through this optimization lifecycle? But here's where it gets really crazy, is this doesn't happen in isolation. So meaning like we're not launching a cohort of campaigns at a time, running it through this entire process, being very diligent about the phases and the types of scaling that it's going through, and then, waiting for all the campaigns to complete and then launching new campaigns. What we're doing in practice is we're launching campaigns and then we're launching new campaigns. And then imagine in this hypothetical example, we're only talking about 6 campaigns. Imagine you go from 6 campaigns to 15 to 50 to 100. Imagine now you're not just talking about LinkedIn ads. You're also doing Google ads. You're doing YouTube ads. You're doing Meta ads. And the craziest thing about all of this is you're doing it manually, which is just insane. And this is where ad automation can be really powerful to just give you time back, scale your personal capacity, your team's capacity, and ultimately just drive better results. Because what this actually looks like in practice is people launch campaigns, they leave their campaigns in the launch phase for way too long because they just don't have the discipline around deciding, hey, this is enough sample size, we're going to move forward or not, or they're just too busy. Or vice versa, they stay in the maintenance phase for way too long because they don't have the amount of ads that they need to refresh and replace the losers in terms of creative refresh. Or again, they don't have the time or the discipline, or they get too emotional about their decision making and they say, you know what, I really like this ad. I think it's a beautiful ad. I'm going to keep letting it run because I believe in it, because it once performed, right? And then, fast forward 6 months, you lost 30 grand. Happens all the time. So this is why ad automation is so important. And in my fundamental belief and why we've built Sammy is because I truly believe the future of advertising is going to be similar to investors. Like if you think of investors or you think about like stockbrokers, they don't buy shares manually. They used to back in the day. They would fill it out in an envelope and send it off. Now, what do? They use technology. If the share price is at a certain cost, they will buy the share, right? If the share price is at a certain cost, they'll sell the share. They have logic and rules, and they use the technology to really streamline a lot of the manual work so then they can focus more of their personal time and capital on building client relationships, studying the market, analyzing trends. And I really think advertising and performance marketing, and that is going to be the future for us as well. I just wanted to take a quick second and say, if you're loving this video, you will absolutely love our free courses at AdConversion.com. They are seriously free. You can sign up and take them. We have courses on Google ads, Reddit ads, LinkedIn ads, and more. They're all free, seriously. Our mission and vision is really just to build like the one place you can go to master B2B ads. And if you don't believe me, you can check out our wall of love from all of our students that have taken our courses. People have landed jobs taking our courses, started agencies. It's really remarkable. So if you're loving this video, definitely go check us out at AdConversion.com. Okay, lo and behold, we are in Sammy. I'm going to walk you now through the actual mechanics of the workflows that I built. So remember what I talked about, the launch, the maintenance, the scale phases. So I have 4 SAMs created in Sammy. A SAM in Sammy is a workflow of rules, and it's basically an automation of what are we trying to accomplish. So one of the SAMs that I created is a launch SAM. So I have a group of campaigns. They're called my Fix My Ad campaigns. It's for a specific offer that we are promoting in our agency. And for the launch SAM, I'm basically doing exactly the logic that we discussed. So if my cost is greater than 500 and conversions are less than 1, it's going to get shut off. Then I have a maintenance SAM. And the maintenance SAM is looking over my same campaigns, and it's looking if my ads have a high cost per conversion greater than 500, they're going to get killed. And then I have a scale SAM. And in my scale SAM, what I'm doing is I'm increasing budgets for my best performing campaigns that have a strong daily pacing and the cost per conversion is acceptable based on my targets. And then lastly, I have a budget protection SAM. What this one is doing is it's notifying me when 80% of my budget has been spent, and then it's going to pause all my campaigns once I've reached my target. So just between these 4 workflows, I have automated pretty much all of the work in terms of the day-to-day optimizations for my LinkedIn ad campaigns. From here, really what I'd have left to do is reporting and looking at like demographics data. In addition to that, it's launching new campaigns, but all of the ongoing optimizations are automated here between my budget protection, my scaling, my maintenance, my launch SAMs. I've got it all worked out here. So I want to go ahead and just show you really quickly how you can build your first SAM in Sammy if you want to put this into practice. And just for like some quick context here, this is what it looks like in action. So this is our budget protection SAM. I actually recommend that you get started with this one. It's really helpful to just make sure that you never overspend. So what we're doing here is we're going to get notified on the first step once 80% of our monthly budget has been spent. And then on the second step, Sammy is going to pause all of our campaigns once we reach our monthly budget. And then next month, it'll loop back again. And then we will be able to, basically update our budgets for the next month. So let's go ahead and create a SAM together. So to do this as simply as possible, we have created a bunch of what we call SAM templates. These are basically templates that are our best or most popular automations that you can just plug and play as quickly as possible. We've got all kinds of things that you can automate in Sammy. You can think of this as like a library of inspiration. So for instance, that budget protection SAM, we have a template for that. The maintenance phase and ongoing maintenance, we have a template for that. If you want to ad schedule your ads on LinkedIn, certain days of the week, we've got a template for that. Bidding for LinkedIn, pausing ads based on engagement rates, getting notified of ad fatigue, and so much more. So to get started, what we're going to do is we're going to build the budget protection SAM. And I'm going to go ahead and select LinkedIn because that's what we're focusing on in this video. And then I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to go ahead and click modify. And I'm going to modify my rule and I'm going to update the value based on my details. So Sammy is going to walk me through the process here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to choose my account and we're going to leave everything here because we're using a template. It makes it super easy where all of this information is populated. So I don't have to really worry about any of this. So now I just got to come in here and update what my cost target is. So let's pretend I had a monthly budget of $10,000. I'll just put that here. And then it's going to notify me once 80% of $10,000, so in this case, $8,000 has been spent. And then this is where it gets really cool is we have an integration with Slack. So you can get real-time alerts on these things that are happening in your ad account, which is pretty awesome. So for instance, like once I've spent 80% of my budget, now I'm going to get notified via Slack to go ahead and update that. So now I can just go ahead and choose my specific Slack channel that I'm interested in. And I can go ahead and save this. And that's it. We're done. Now I'm going to go ahead and modify my second step and I'm going to update my value here. So if I want to make sure I do not exceed $10,000. So just to be safe that I don't overspend, I'm going to just put like 9,990 just to give me a little bit of wiggle room. And that is it. We will enable Slack notifications. Again, choose our channel and we will go ahead and save this. And then I would just go ahead and publish this. And that is it. We've got this first SAM created. And now for the other SAMs that I talked about around the launch, the maintenance, and the scale phase, I want to just quickly show you what that looks like here. So for the launch one, what this is we have a one step that is looping once some of the ads have been triggered, and it's going to pause those ads with no conversions. So just to show you what that looks like here in practice, it looks like this. So in this case, I've got my 4 campaigns selected. I've got the condition to pause the ads. If for whatever reason you want the final say, let's pretend like maybe you don't have like the ability to refresh creative fast enough and you want to be very mindful of the ads that you do pause so that when you pause them, you're ready to replace them. You can go ahead and select manual approval. And then what this will do is when you get your Slack notification, there will be an approve button. So now you can approve the final change, which is really cool. So again, you're still using automation so that you don't have to live inside the ad manager, right? Like you can go about your business and then you can set these workflows up and then the information comes to you. So then from there, I'm just going to go ahead and set my cost target. So you can see here in the rule builder, I have costs greater than 500 and conversions less than 1. So that's all set. One last thing I guess I'll just mention that's super important is if in the case like you don't care about conversions, like if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I care about MQLs, as long as you have it as a conversion action in your account, Sammy can pull it and then you can build your rule off that. So in this case, I have cost greater than 500 and MQLs less than 1. So you can fully customize these rules based on your campaigns and the KPIs that you care about. So like another really common example that we use all the time for LinkedIn is we use engagement rate for our awareness campaigns. You could also use dwell time. That's a newer metric if you're interested in dwell time. But one that we always use is like if our engagement rate is less than our average engagement rate and impressions are greater than 1,000. So this is one that we find ourselves using all the time. And with this, it's pretty cool because using the average metric, it'll update based on the time frame. So in this case, it'll look at my engagement rate over the last 90 days and then pull in that value once the rule runs. And I can have the rule run as fast as every hour or once a week or once a month. I definitely recommend minimum starting at once a week, especially if you're a smaller account. You could get away with once a month if like you really don't have a lot of ad spend, but once a week is a really nice sweet spot just to make sure for the maintenance rules that you're accruing enough data, because remember in that maintenance phase, like you do need to let more spend happen to see how it continues to perform. So once a week is a pretty nice sweet spot. You could also do once a month, but for the launch campaigns, or the launch SAMs, I would totally recommend that you run it every single hour, because in the launch phase, remember, we're going to posit things that never perform. So we don't want to let that drag on. So for that one, I would leave it at every hour on the frequency. That is pretty much it. Happy to do more videos on this. If you guys want to dive deeper into ad automation, learn more about Sammy, let me know. You can try Sammy free for 14 days. I'll have the link in the description box down below. Hope this video was valuable. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps grow our reach as a small channel, and subscribe so you can be notified of future videos. When you're ready, check out AdConversion.com and join our community of 8,000 plus B2B marketers and master ads with our free courses. See you in the next one.